First contact and betrayal. The sleek silver shuttle descended through Earth's atmosphere, its alien design unlike anything humanity had ever seen. On the ground, a sea of faces looked up in wonder and apprehension. This was the moment that would change everything. First contact with an extraterrestrial civilization. Dr. Amelia Chen, lead xenobiologist for the United Nations, stood at the forefront of the welcoming committee. Her heart raced as the shuttle touched down on the landing pad. With a soft hiss, a door slid open, and out stepped the first alien to set foot on Earth. The being was tall and slender, with iridescent skin that shimmered in the sunlight. Its large, almond-shaped eyes blinked slowly as it surveyed the crowd. Dr. Chen stepped forward, her hand extended in greeting. "Welcome to Earth," she said, her voice steady despite her nerves. "We are honored to meet you." The alien's mouth-like appendage quivered, and a melodious voice emanated from it. "Greetings, people of Earth. I am Ambassador Zix of the Galactic Council. We come in peace and friendship." Over the next few months, humanity was introduced to a vast interstellar community. The Galactic Council, a coalition of advanced species, offered to share technology and knowledge with Earth. Promises of faster-than-light travel, clean energy, and medical breakthroughs dazzled world leaders and citizens alike. Dr. Chen worked closely with the alien scientists, marveling at their advanced biology and technology. "This is beyond our wildest dreams," she confided to her colleague, Dr. James Rourke, one evening. "Think of all we can learn from them." James nodded, but his expression was thoughtful. "It almost seems too good to be true, doesn't it? I can't help but wonder what they want in return." Amelia dismissed his concerns with a wave of her hand. "Not everyone has ulterior motives, James. Maybe they're just genuinely interested in peaceful cooperation." As the months passed, human colonies were established on distant worlds, aided by Council technology. Millions of people embarked on a great adventure, seeking new lives among the stars. Earth entered a golden age of progress and discovery. But James Rourke's suspicions never fully subsided. Working late one night in the lab, he stumbled upon encrypted files in the alien database. What he found chilled him to the bone. "Amelia, you need to see this," he said urgently, calling his colleague. "The Council, they're not what they seem." Before he could explain further, the lab door burst open. Alien security forces stormed in, their weapons trained on James. Ambassador Zix glided in behind them, his once friendly demeanor replaced by cold disdain. "Dr. Rourke," Zix said, his voice no longer melodious but harsh and grating, "you've been poking your nose where it doesn't belong. I'm afraid we can't allow that." James stood defiant. "You've been lying to us all along. What are you really after?" Zix's mouth appendage twisted into a cruel smile. "Your species is young, primitive. Did you really think we saw you as equals? You're nothing more than a resource to be exploited." With a gesture from Zix, the security forces seized James. Amelia arrived just in time to see her friend being dragged away. "James, what's happening?" she cried out. Zix turned to her, his eyes now cold and alien. "Dr. Chen, your usefulness has come to an end. The charade is over." Across the galaxy, the Council's true intentions were revealed. Human colonies were overwhelmed by massive invasion forces. Men, women, and children were rounded up and enslaved. The few distress signals that made it back to Earth told a horrifying tale of betrayal and subjugation. On a distant mining colony, 8-year-old Lily Mason huddled in fear as alien soldiers tore through her home. Her parents had hidden her in a secret compartment, their last act before being taken away. Lily clutched her stuffed rabbit, tears streaming down her face as she heard the screams and chaos outside. A hulking alien warrior, Cade the Torturer, stormed into the room. His cruel eyes scanned the area, sensing hidden prey. With inhuman strength, he ripped away panels and furniture until he found Lily's hiding spot. Well, Cade sneered, grabbing Lily by the arm. "What do we have here? A little human right for questioning." Lily struggled and cried out for her parents, but it was no use. Cade dragged her to a dark, forbidding chamber filled with instruments of torture. Other alien officials waited, their eyes gleaming with sadistic anticipation. "Now, little one," Cade said, strapping Lily to a cold metal table. "You're going to tell us everything you know about Earth's defenses." Lily sobbed, shaking her head. "I don't know anything. Please, I want my mommy and daddy." Cade's face twisted with cruel amusement. "Oh, we have ways of making you talk." He reached for a neural inducer, a device designed to inflict unimaginable pain. As the torture began, Lily's screams echoed through the facility. But even in her agony, the young girl refused to break. Her defiance would become a symbol of human resilience in the face of alien cruelty. Back on Earth, the full extent of the betrayal became clear. The Galactic Council had never intended peace. Humanity had been deceived, its trust exploited. As reports of atrocities flooded in from the colonies, a wave of shock and outrage swept across the planet. In the United Nations emergency session, world leaders grappled with the horrifying new reality. The alien technology that had seemed like a gift now revealed itself as a Trojan horse, leaving Earth vulnerable to attack. Admiral Jonathan Shepard, commander of Earth's fledgling space fleet, addressed the assembly. His scarred face was etched with grim determination as he spoke. "We have been betrayed in the worst possible way," he said, his voice resonating through the chamber. "But humanity will not go quietly into the night. We will fight. We will resist. And we will show these alien bastards that they've made the biggest mistake of their lives." As the assembly erupted in cheers and shouts of defiance, Dr. Amelia Chen sat in stunned silence. The alien she had trusted, the beings she had seen as friends and mentors, had been lying all along. James had been right, and now he was gone, just one of countless humans suffering at the hands of the Council. Amelia's shock gave way to a burning anger. She stood up, her voice ringing out clear and strong. "I worked with them. I know their weaknesses. Let me help. Together, we'll make them pay for what they've done." As the UN session adjourned, a new resolve settled over the planet. The message spread from city to city, nation to nation. Humanity would not submit. They would fight back. And they would show the Galactic Council that they had awakened a force beyond their imagining. In secret facilities around the world, scientists and engineers worked tirelessly to reverse engineer alien technology. Military leaders devised strategies to combat an enemy far more advanced than anything they had faced before. And in the hearts of every human being, a fire was lit, a determination to survive, to resist, and ultimately to triumph. The Galactic Council had wanted to subjugate humanity. Instead, they had ignited a fury that would burn across the stars. The war for human freedom had begun, and Earth would not rest until justice was served and every human world was free once more. As night fell on a changed Earth, Admiral Shepard looked out at the stars that once seemed so full of promise. Now they represented a threat, but also a challenge. Humanity had been knocked down, but they were far from out. The real fight was just beginning. "They wanted a war," Shepard muttered, his fists clenched. "Now they got one." Humanity unites and prepares. The news of the Galactic Council's betrayal spread across Earth like wildfire. Shock gave way to anger, and anger quickly turned into a steely resolve. For the first time in human history, the entire planet united under a single cause: survival. In Washington, D.C., President Elena Rodriguez addressed a joint session of Congress, her voice firm and unwavering. "My fellow Americans, my fellow humans, we face the greatest threat in our species' history. But we will not cower. We will not surrender. Today, we put aside our differences and stand as one. The United Earth Defense Force is hereby established, and I call on every nation to contribute their best and brightest." Similar speeches echoed in capitals around the world. Old rivalries were set aside as humanity realized they could no longer afford the luxury of internal conflicts. The United Earth Defense Force, UEDF, quickly took shape, pooling resources, technology, and personnel from every corner of the globe. Admiral Jonathan Shepard was unanimously chosen to lead the UEDF. His first act was to establish a war council, bringing together military strategists, scientists, and even science fiction authors to think outside the box in combating the alien threat. Dr. Amelia Chen, still reeling from the betrayal of her alien colleagues, threw herself into her work. She led a team of xenobiologists in studying every scrap of alien technology and biology they could get their hands on. Their biology is their weakness, she announced in a briefing with Shepard. They're susceptible to certain radiation frequencies that don't affect humans. If we can weaponize that, Shepard nodded grimly. Do it. We need every advantage we can get. In laboratories and workshops around the world, human ingenuity was on full display. The alien technology left behind during the cultural exchange was reverse-engineered and improved upon. Dr. Viktor Volkov, a brilliant Russian physicist, made a breakthrough in adapting the alien faster-than-light drive. They thought they were giving us children's toys, Volkov said with a fierce grin. We've turned them into hypersonic missiles. But it wasn't just military technology that advanced. Medical breakthroughs came at an unprecedented pace as scientists applied alien biotech to human physiology. Enhanced strength, accelerated healing, and even limited telepathy became possible. The first generation of augmented soldiers began training, their bodies and minds pushed to the very limits of human potential. In orbit, massive space stations took shape, serving as shipyards for Earth's growing fleet. The first human-built starships were a hodgepodge of Earth and alien tech, but they were battle-ready. Each launch was met with cheers from the populace below, a symbol of humanity's refusal to be confined to their home planet. But even as humanity prepared for war, they didn't forget those left behind. Reports of resistance movements on occupied human colonies trickled in. Stories of bravery and defiance in the face of overwhelming odds inspired those on Earth to work harder, to push themselves further. One story, in particular, captured the world's attention. Lily Mason, the young girl tortured by Cade, had not only survived but escaped. With the help of a small group of human rebels, she had stolen a council communication device. Her message, broadcast across human networks, became a rallying cry. They heard us. They took our homes. But we're still here. We're still fighting. Don't give up on us. We'll never give up on you. Lily's face, bruised but defiant, became a symbol of human resilience. Her words were plastered on recruitment posters, her story told to new UEDF recruits as an example of the spirit they were fighting for. Admiral Shepard kept Lily's picture on his desk, a constant reminder of the stakes they faced. In quiet moments, he would look at it and whisper, "We're coming. Hold on." As Earth's defenses grew, so did the realization of just how vast the challenge before them was. The Galactic Council controlled thousands of worlds, with fleets that darkened the skies of conquered planets. Humanity was outnumbered, and in many ways, still outgunned. But they had something the Council didn't expect: the element of surprise. The aliens believed they had cowed humanity into submission. They had no idea of the forces being arrayed against them. In a secret facility deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, the War Council gathered to finalize their plans. Holographic displays showed the known positions of Council fleets and the locations of human colonies. "We can't match them ship for ship," General Yin Zhao said, pointing to the enemy formations. "But we don't have to. We hit them hard and fast where they least expect it. Liberate our people, gather intelligence, and disappear before they can retaliate." Admiral Shepard nodded. "Guerrilla warfare on a galactic scale. It's risky, but it's our best shot." He turned to the assembled leaders. "We've been preparing for this moment for 2 years. Our people have suffered, but they've never lost hope. It's time to show the Council that humanity is not to be trifled with." A chorus of agreement filled the room. The tide was about to turn. As the meeting adjourned, Dr. Chen approached Shepard. "Admiral, there's something you need to see." She handed him a tablet. "We've decoded more of the Council's communications. They're experimenting on human prisoners, trying to create some kind of bioweapon." Shepard's face hardened as he read the report. "Then we move now. Prepare the fleet. We launch in 24 hours. Word spread quickly through the ranks. Soldiers said goodbye to loved ones, knowing they might never return. But there was no fear in their eyes, only determination. They had trained for this, prepared for this moment when humanity would take its first steps towards liberation. In shipyards around the world and in orbit, final preparations were made. Weapons were loaded, systems checked and rechecked. The air was thick with anticipation. Admiral Shepard stood on the bridge of the UES Defiant, Earth's most advanced warship. Before him, a fleet of over 1,000 vessels stretched out into the darkness of space. It was a sight that would have been impossible just a few years ago. He opened a channel to the entire fleet, men and women of Earth, of humanity. The moment has come. We have been wronged, betrayed, and abused. But we are not broken. We are not defeated. Today, we take the fight to the enemy. Today, we show the galaxy that humanity will not go quietly into the night. We will not vanish without a fight. We're going to live on. We're going to survive. Today, we celebrate our Independence Day." Cheers erupted across the comms. Shepard allowed himself a small smile before giving the order that would change the course of human history. "All ships, prepare for FTL jump. Our destination, the Arcturus system. It's time to bring our people home." In a flash of light, the fleet disappeared, leaving Earth behind. The counterattack had begun. The Galactic Council was about to learn a harsh lesson. Never underestimate the fury of humanity scorned. As the fleet hurtled through hyperspace, every human on board knew that the fate of their species hung in the balance. But they were ready. They were united. And they were out for justice. The stars themselves seemed to hold their breath, waiting to see what this young, fierce species would do next. The galaxy was about to be shaken to its very core. The counterattack begins. The UES Defiant erupted from hyperspace in a brilliant flash of light, leading Earth's armada into the Arcturus system. Admiral Shepard stood on the bridge, his eyes fixed on the holographic display showing the Galactic Council's massive orbital shipyards and defense platforms. "All ships, battle formations," Shepard commanded, his voice steady. "Remember your training. Remember why we fight. Commence Operation Thunderbolt." The human fleet split into precise attack groups, each targeting key enemy installations. Council ships scrambled to respond, but they were caught completely off guard. They had grown complacent, never expecting the primitive humans to strike so boldly. Captain Sarah Chen, Amelia's younger sister and commander of the stealth frigate Shadow Strike, led the first assault. Her ship, equipped with reverse-engineered cloaking technology, slipped past the enemy's outer defenses undetected. "Weapons hot," Sarah ordered, her crew tense but ready. "Target their command and control center. Fire." The Shadow Strike unleashed a barrage of missiles enhanced with Dr. Volkov's hypersonic drive technology. They streaked across space faster than the Council's tracking systems could follow, slamming into the heart of the alien command structure. The resulting explosion lit up the sky, sending shockwaves through the enemy fleet. Across the battlefield, similar scenes played out as humanity's forces struck with precision and fury. The Council ships, more technologically advanced but unprepared for the ferocity of the attack, fell into disarray. Admiral Shepard's voice crackled over the comms. "Ground teams, you have a go. Get our people out of there." On the planet's surface, drop pods pierced the atmosphere, carrying elite UEDF soldiers. Among them was Major Jack Harper, a grizzled veteran augmented with the latest human-alien hybrid technology. His team's objective: liberate the human slave labor camps and rescue high-value prisoners. As Harper's pod slammed into the ground, he emerged firing, his enhanced reflexes allowing him to take down 3 council guards before they could even raise their weapons. "Move, move, move," he shouted to his team. "Every second counts." They fought their way through the alien facility, their augmented strength and earth-forged weapons proving more than a match for the surprise defenders. In the distance, explosions rocked the skyline as other human strike teams engaged their targets. Deep in the bowels of the main research complex, Harper's team found what they were looking for. Rows of stasis pods lined the walls, each containing a human test subject. Harper's jaw clenched as he recognized one of the faces. Dr. James Rourke, the scientist who had first uncovered the Council's treachery. "Get them out now," Harper ordered. As his team worked to revive the prisoners, a piercing alarm echoed through the facility. Incoming. Defensive positions. A wave of Council elite guards poured into the chamber, led by a towering alien in ornate armor. It was Zorn, the facility's commander and one of the architects of the human enslavement program. "You dare?" Zorn roared, his voice filled with rage and disbelief. "You primitive apes think you can stand against the might of the Galactic Council." Harper stepped forward, his augmented eyes glowing with an inner fire. "We're not just standing, you oversized squid. We're here to kick your ass back to whatever slimy world you crawled out of." The two clashed in a fury of advanced weaponry and superhuman abilities. Zorn's strength was immense, but Harper's augmentations and sheer human determination kept him in the fight. Around them, human soldiers and council guards engaged in brutal close-quarters combat. In orbit, the space battle raged on. The council had finally organized a counterattack, bringing in reinforcements from nearby systems. But the human fleet, though outnumbered, fought with unprecedented skill and daring. Captain Chen's Shadow Strike danced through the enemy formation, its advanced ECM suite confusing the alien targeting systems. "Concentrate fire on their flagship," she ordered. "Let's cut the head off this snake." The Council flagship, a massive dreadnought bristling with weapons, found itself under assault from all sides. Human ships, though smaller, swarmed around it like angry hornets, their weapons finding weak points in its defenses. On the Defiance Bridge, Admiral Shepard watched the battle unfold with grim satisfaction. "Press the advantage," he commanded. "Don't let up." But the tide of battle can turn quickly. A lucky shot from a Council cruiser struck the Shadow Strike's engine nacelle, sending the ship spinning out of control. "We're hit," Captain Chen yelled, fighting with the controls. "Reactors going critical." Shepard's heart clenched. He had known Sarah since she was a child. "Get out of there, Shadow Strike." "That's an order." "Negative, Admiral." Sarah's voice was calm despite the chaos around her. "We've still got fight left in us, and we know how to make it count." Before Shepard could protest, the Shadow Strike, trailing fire and debris, altered course. It accelerated directly towards the Council flagship's bridge. "Give 'em hell, big sister," Sarah whispered, thinking of Amelia back on Earth. Then, to her crew, "It's been an honor serving with you all. For Earth." The Shadow Strike slammed into the flagship at near-relativistic speeds. The resulting explosion was blinding, tearing the massive alien ship in half and sending shockwaves through both fleets. A moment of stunned silence fell over the battlefield. Then, as if Sarah's sacrifice had ignited a fire in every human heart, the UEDF attacked with renewed vigor. Council ships began to break formation, some even turning to flee. On the planet's surface, the explosion was visible as a new star in the sky. In the research facility, Harper and Zorn were locked in mortal combat, neither willing to yield, but the human soldier felt the shift in the battle's energy. With a roar of defiance, Harper summoned every ounce of his augmented strength. He lifted Zorn bodily and slammed him into the ground with earth-shattering force. The alien commander lay still, his exoskeleton cracked and sparking. Harper stood over his fallen foe, breathing heavily. "That was for every human you tortured, you bastard." He keyed his comm. "Facility secured. We have the prisoners, requesting immediate evac. As dropships descended to extract the ground teams and liberated prisoners, Admiral Shepard surveyed the aftermath of the battle. The Council fleet was in full retreat, leaving behind a graveyard of broken ships and shattered stations. "All units, report status," Shepard ordered, his voice heavy with the weight of victory and loss. The reports came in from across the system. They had done it. The Arcturus system, once a symbol of humanity's enslavement, was now the site of their first major victory against the Galactic Council. As the UEDF fleet regrouped, tending to their wounded and calculating their losses, Shepard opened a channel to Earth. "Control, this is Admiral Shepard. Arcturus is ours. I repeat, Arcturus is ours. The liberation has begun." Cheers erupted on the bridge, echoed across the fleet, and back on Earth. It was a moment of triumph, a confirmation that humanity could stand against the cosmic giants that had sought to crush them. But Shepard knew this was only the beginning. The Council would retaliate, and they would do so with all the fury and might at their disposal. The war was far from over. As the fleet prepared to return to Earth with their liberated comrades and captured enemy technology, Shepard looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, on countless worlds, humans still suffered under Council rule. "We're coming," he whispered, echoing the promise he had made to Lily Mason's picture so long ago. "Hold on. We're coming for all of you." The battle for Arcturus was over. The true war for humanity's future was just beginning, and the galaxy would never be the same. Desperate measures. The victory at Arcturus sent shockwaves through the Galactic Council. For the first time in millennia, they faced a species that not only resisted their rule, but had successfully struck back. In the grand chambers of the Council's capital world, Nexus Prime, panic and outrage battled for supremacy. High Counselor Vexera, her tentacles writhing in agitation, addressed the emergency session. "These humans have proven more resilient and cunning than we anticipated. They must be crushed, utterly and without mercy, before other subjugated species get ideas of rebellion." In a dark corner of the chamber, a hooded figure stepped forward. It was Dr. Zyclox, the Council's foremost expert in biological warfare. His voice was a sibilant whisper that nonetheless carried to every ear. "Esteemed counselors, I have a solution. Project Omega is ready." A hush fell over the assembly. Project Omega was spoken of only in whispers, a weapon so terrible that even the Council had been hesitant to use it. But desperate times called for desperate measures. High Counselor Vexera's eyes narrowed. "You're certain it will work on humans?" Zyklok's lipless mouth curved in a cruel smile. "Oh yes, we've had ample test subjects after all. The humans on their colony worlds will never know what hit them." The vote was swift and unanimous. Project Omega was given the green light. Back on Earth, the mood was cautiously optimistic. The victory at Arcturus had proven that humanity could stand against the Council, and more importantly, that they could win. But Admiral Shepard and the UEDF leadership knew the fight was far from over. In a secure briefing room deep beneath Geneva, Shepard addressed the United Earth Council. "Arcturus was a significant victory, but it's just the beginning. We've bloodied the Council's nose, and they're going to hit back hard. We need to be ready." Dr. Amelia Chen, still mourning the loss of her sister, stepped forward. "Admiral, the intel we gathered from Arcturus is disturbing. The Council was working on some kind of bioweapon, specifically tailored to human physiology. We don't know the full extent of its capabilities, but—" She was cut off as alarms blared throughout the facility. A harried communications officer burst into the room. "Sir, we're receiving distress calls from multiple colony worlds. They're under attack." The room erupted into chaos as reports flooded in. Council ships had appeared over a dozen human colonies, but they weren't bombarding the planets or landing invasion forces. Instead, they were releasing clouds of a sickly green gas into the atmospheres. On New Eden, one of humanity's most populous colonies, panic gripped the streets as the strange mist descended. Thomas Rayleigh, a schoolteacher, tried to herd his students to safety, everyone inside. He shouted, ushering children into the school's sealed emergency shelter. But it was too late for many. As the gas touched skin, people began to scream in agony. Their bodies twisted and mutated, flesh bubbling and reforming into horrific shapes. Those affected lost all reason, becoming feral beasts that attacked anything that moved. Similar scenes played out across the affected colonies. Millions died in the initial attack, their bodies transformed into unrecognizable abominations. Millions more fell victim to the mutated hordes. Back on Earth, the UEDF scrambled to respond. Shepard's face was ashen as he watched the footage streaming in from the colonies. "My God," he whispered, "they've gone too far this time." Dr. Chen was already mobilizing her team. "We need samples of that gas. If we can analyze it, maybe we can find a cure, or at least a way to neutralize it." Shepard nodded grimly. "Do it. In the meantime, we need to evacuate as many survivors as we can and quarantine the affected worlds." The next weeks were a nightmare of desperate rescue missions and heartbreaking decisions. UEDF ships braved the contaminated atmospheres to extract as many unaffected colonists as possible, but for every person saved, hundreds were left behind. The bioweapon, now dubbed the Omega virus by human forces, proved to be even more horrific than initially thought. It didn't just kill or mutate. It adapted. Each new strain encountered seemed more virulent, more resistant to countermeasures. On Earth, Dr. Chen and her team worked around the clock, analyzing samples and running simulations. The pressure was immense. Every day without a cure meant more lives lost, more colonies potentially falling to the Omega virus. Admiral Shepard, running on caffeine and sheer determination, coordinated the UED's efforts from his command center. "We need to buy the science team more time," he told his staff. "Prepare a counteroffensive. We're taking the fight back to Council space." The human fleet, still buoyed by their victory at Arcturus, but now driven by a burning need for vengeance, launched a series of lightning raids against Council outposts and supply lines. They couldn't match the Council ship for ship, but human ingenuity and desperation made them a force to be reckoned with. New tactics were developed on the fly. Captain Miguel Sanchez of the UES Conquistador pioneered the Trojan Horse maneuver, using captured Council ships as cover to slit strike teams past enemy defenses. Lieutenant Yuki Tanaka's squadron of enhanced fighters became legendary for their ability to take on ships many times their size. But for every victory in space, the situation on the infected colonies grew more dire. The Omega virus continued to spread, and attempts to reclaim the worlds met with disaster. Strike teams sent to secure vital research facilities found only horror. Entire cities had become hunting grounds for packs of mutated former humans. In her lab, Dr. Chen finally had a breakthrough. "The virus isn't just a weapon," she reported to Shepard, her eyes red-rimmed from lack of sleep. "It's alive. It's evolving. But that means it can be killed." Hope flickered in Shepard's eyes for the first time in weeks. "What do you need?" "Time," Chen said grimly, "and a way to test the cure on a planetary scale." The implication was clear. They would need to retake one of the infected worlds, a task that had so far proven impossible. Shepard's jaw set in determination. "You'll have it, whatever it takes." As plans were drawn up for the most daring operation yet, a coded transmission came in from deep in Council space. It was from the Resistance on Harmony, one of the first human worlds to fall to the Council years ago. They had vital intelligence on the source of the Omega virus. Shepard knew it was likely a trap, but they couldn't afford to ignore the lead. He handpicked a team for the mission, led by the now legendary Major Jack Harper. Their objective: infiltrate the Council's most secure bioweapons facility and steal the data needed to perfect the cure. As Harper's team prepared for their suicide mission, Dr. Chen and her scientists worked feverishly to finalize their prototype cure. The fate of humanity hung in the balance, with time running out for the infected colonies. The Council, believing victory was within their grasp, prepared to launch the final phase of Project Omega. They would unleash the virus on Earth itself, wiping out humanity's homeworld and breaking their will to resist once and for all. It was a race against time, with the lives of billions hanging in the balance. Humanity had faced challenges before, but never one of this magnitude. The Omega virus threatened not just their lives, but their very humanity. As his ship prepared to jump into Council space, Major Harper looked at the hologram of Earth one last time. "We started this war to save our people," he told his team. "Now we're fighting to save our species. Failure is not an option." With grim determination, the human forces prepared for the battles that would determine the fate of their race. The Council had unleashed their ultimate weapon, but they were about to learn that humanity's greatest strength wasn't in their technology or their tactics, but in their indomitable will to survive. The stage was set for the final desperate gambit that would either save humanity or consign them to extinction. Triumph and reflection. The UES Shadowblade, a stealth ship of unprecedented capabilities, slipped silently through the void of space. On its bridge, Major Jack Harper and his elite team prepared for what could very well be a one-way mission. Their target, the Council's most secure bioweapons facility on the fortress world of Erebus. "Remember," Harper addressed his team, his augmented eyes glowing with fierce determination, "we're not just fighting for ourselves anymore. The fate of our entire species rests on this mission. Failure is not an option." As the Shadowblade approached Erebus, the true scale of their challenge became apparent. The planet was a veritable fortress, bristling with defense satellites and protected by a massive fleet. "Stealth systems at maximum," Lieutenant Zara Okoro, the ship's pilot, reported. "If we're lucky, they won't see us until it's too late." Luck, it seemed, was on their side. The Shadowblade slipped past the outer defenses undetected, landing in a remote area near the facility. Harper's team disembarked, their advanced stealth suits rendering them nearly invisible. Meanwhile, back on Earth, Dr. Amelia Chen worked feverishly in her lab. The prototype cure for the Omega virus was promising, but without the data from the Council's facility, it might not be enough to save the infected colonies. "Come on, Jack," she muttered, glancing at the clock. "We're running out of time." On Erebus, Harper's team infiltrated the facility with practiced precision. They encountered heavy resistance, the Council's elite guards armed with devastating weaponry. But the humans' augmented abilities and sheer desperate courage carried them through. In the heart of the facility, they found what they were looking for, a vast database containing the full details of Project Omega. As Harper began the download, alarms blared throughout the complex. "We've been made," Sergeant Sarah Connor shouted, laying down suppressing fire as waves of Council forces converged on their position. Harper gritted his teeth, watching the download progress agonizingly slowly. "Hold the line. We're not leaving without that data." The battle that ensued was nothing short of legendary. Outnumbered and outgunned, Harper's team fought with everything they had. One by one, they fell, buying time with their lives for the crucial data transfer. Just as the download completed, a massive explosion rocked the facility. Through the smoke and debris emerged a nightmarish figure, High Inquisitor Vexera herself, encased in a terrifying battle suit that bristled with weapons. "Did you really think you could steal from the Council and live human?" she snarled, her voice distorted by the suit's speakers. Harper, the last of his team still standing, faced the Inquisitor with grim resolve. Who said anything about living? With lightning speed, he activated the facility's self-destruct sequence. Vexera's eyes widened in shock. "You fool, you'll kill us both." "For Earth," Harper said simply, and charged. The ensuing battle was cataclysmic. Harper, pushing his augmentations to their limit, managed to damage Vexera's suit, but the Inquisitor's centuries of combat experience began to tell. Just as it seemed Harper would fall, he saw his opening. With his last ounce of strength, he plunged his combat knife into a weak point in Vexera's armor, disabling the suit. As the facility began to crumble around them, Harper stumbled to the Shadow Blade, dragging the incapacitated Vexara with him. "You're going to answer for your crimes," he growled. The Shadow Blade barely escaped as the Council facility exploded, taking with it the heart of Project Omega. Back on Earth, the data Harper's team sacrificed so much to obtain proved to be the key. Dr. Chen and her team worked tirelessly, finally perfecting the cure for the Omega virus. Admiral Shepard wasted no time. "All ships, this is it. Operation Restoration is a go. Let's take back our worlds." The battle to reclaim the infected colonies was brutal and costly. The UEDF faced not only Council resistance but hordes of mutated humans. Yet with the cure in hand and righteous fury in their hearts, they pressed on. World by world, the virus was eradicated. Those who could be saved were cured, their humanity restored. The cost was staggering, but humanity's spirit remained unbroken. As news of the cure spread, something unexpected happened. On Council-controlled worlds across the galaxy, subjugated species who had watched humanity's resistance with growing admiration began to rise up. The Council, already reeling from the loss of Project Omega and the capture of High Inquisitor Vexara, found itself fighting wars on multiple fronts. The final battle took place in orbit around Nexus Prime, the heart of Council power. The combined fleet of humanity and their new allies faced off against the last of the Council armada. Admiral Shepard stood on the bridge of the Defiant, surveying the massive fleet before him. "All ships, this is Admiral Shepard. For too long, the Council has ruled through fear and cruelty. Today we end their reign. For Earth, for all free peoples of the galaxy, attack." The battle that followed would be spoken of for generations to come. Human ingenuity and determination, combined with the diverse skills of their alien allies, proved to be more than a match for the Council's superior technology. As the Council's defenses crumbled, Shepard led a strike team to the surface. In the Grand Council chambers, they confronted the remaining Council leaders. "Your reign of terror ends today," Shepard declared, his voice echoing through the vast hall. The Council leaders, seeing their defeat was inevitable, surrendered. The war was over. In the days that followed, representatives from Earth and the liberated species gathered to form a new galactic alliance, one based on mutual respect and cooperation rather than domination. Admiral Shepard, hailed as the hero of humanity, spoke at the founding ceremony. "We came to the stars full of hope, only to face betrayal and suffering. But we refused to be broken. We fought not just for our own survival, but for the right of all sentient beings to live free from tyranny. Let this new alliance stand as a testament to what we can achieve when we stand together against injustice." As the ceremony concluded, Shepard found a quiet moment alone. He thought of all those who had sacrificed everything for this victory: Sarah Chen, Jack Harper and his team, and countless others. Their memory would live on in the peace they had won. Humanity had faced its greatest challenge and emerged stronger for it. They had proven to the galaxy and to themselves that the human spirit was indomitable. As they looked to the stars now, it was not with fear, but with hope for a brighter future. The Galactic Council's cruelty had indeed ignited humanity's fury, and in doing so, they had forged a force that reshaped the very foundations of galactic society. The age of the Council was over. The age of humanity and their allies had just begun. As night fell on the new galactic capital, the stars seemed to shine brighter than ever before, a glittering promise of the adventures and challenges that awaited in the vast, unexplored reaches of space. Humanity, tested by fire and tempered by adversity, stood ready to meet whatever the universe had in store. The end of one chapter, it seemed, was just the beginning of an even greater story.